Breaking news. Indiana men's basketball hires West Virginia head coach Darian DeVries to be the next man in Bloomington. And not to overreact, but I like the hire better than most IU fans do.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. This is a breaking news edition of Locked On Hoosiers. Indiana men's basketball. It's been reported everywhere. Indiana has confirmed it that West Virginia head basketball coach Darian DeVries will be the next head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers. And this has just come to fruition oh so quickly. I mean, a coaching search that we've known has been ongoing for several weeks now, that Mike Woodson has, when he announced he was not going to return, he was going to retire, Indiana was going a different direction, and we've seen dozens of names go in and out, on and off the boards of whether Indiana was going to hire them to be the next head coach. And Darian DeVries, as of late, was on that list. And look, I don't want to overreact here in this breaking news. I think this is a really good hire. And I've said that about several coaches if they were to be the one. I just think Darian DeVries is a really good coach. I think he's an up-and-comer, and I think he is somebody that could be here for a very, very long time. Of course, he was at Drake for several years. He took Drake to the tournament several times. Listen to this, okay? He took them to the tournament 3 of his 6 years that he was there. And he won conference and regular season championships when he was at Drake, okay? He was so good that West Virginia, after the debacle that they had to go through with some coaching issues, right, with Bob Huggins, they brought in Darian DeVries, took a chance on this guy, and I think it worked out for the Mountaineers in his lone season there at West Virginia. They should have been playing in the NCAA tournament. They should be preparing to play right now for a first-round game coming up on either Thursday or Friday. But thankfully, North Carolina took that bid from the Mountaineers, and they also took that from the Indiana Hoosiers. And so while West Virginia took a chance on him, so did Indiana. And look, shout out to my friends in West Virginia. Shout out to my buddy Mountaineer Paul, who hosts the Locked On West Virginia podcast. I texted him. He said, I'm depressed. I'm in shambles. They have been going through it the last couple of days, being left out of the tournament on Selection Sunday, and here on a Tuesday evening, seeing their head coach leave West Virginia to become the next head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers. I think he had a really good year one at West Virginia. Remember, his best player got hurt just 8 games into the season. Oh, yeah, it was his son who was playing incredible basketball. He's a 20 points per game scorer. This guy can absolutely get after it. Tucker DeVries is the coach's son. You expect him to come with his dad to Indiana. So we talked about roster reconstruction, right, for this Indiana squad. Now that Mike Woodson is gone, you've got Gabe Cupps in the transfer portal. More on all of that later on. But this is a great hire for Indiana. This is not overreacting. This is not blowing smoke. I think this is a really good hire. It's making its way around the headlines. People are going to be talking about this because he left West Virginia after just 1 year and is taking a bigger step up, a bigger, better job at Indiana. Now, I think there are a lot of concerned Indiana fans with this hire, right? It's not Chris Beard. It's not Scott Drew. It's not Bruce Pearl. It's not any of those names that were circling around in some lists and hot boards and whatever you want to call it. And we've covered all of those names here on Locked On Hoosiers. But I'm telling you to not be disappointed with the hire of Darian DeVries. I'm curious on where you stand. Leave your thoughts in the YouTube comments. I want to know where the Indiana fan base stands. And if you're not an Indiana fan and you found yourself here and you're a fan, let's say, of another team in the Big Ten, or heck, if you're a West Virginia fan, let me know how you feel. Are you worried about this hire? Are you threatened by this hire? Curious on where everybody stands. But I know, and I've already seen there are disappointed IU fans, and I get it. You wanted Chris Beard, you wanted Scott Drew, you wanted Bruce Pearl, you wanted those big names, but I'm telling you that DeVries is a really good hire. I will admit this is not who I thought was ultimately going to get the job, because we've been hearing about Ben McCollum from Drake. We've been hearing about Brownell from Clemson, and DeVries was in this list as well, but also had ties to the Iowa opening, where there seemed to be a lot of movement with him possibly getting the Iowa job since it just came open a couple of days ago. As of this recording, as of this podcast, nothing has happened at Iowa. That tells me that Ben McCollum from Drake is probably going to be the next head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes. And sounds like Indiana didn't want to take a chance on Brownell from Clemson, who has been there for a long time and has only had recent success. And maybe they didn't want to take a chance on McCollum, who is still working his way up through the ranks of Division I major basketball. With DeVries, you just get a lot, man. You get a guy who knows the Midwest. You have a guy who's proven to be developed and can develop players, and he brings his very talented son with him. Is this a good or bad hire? You tell me. I think it's good. Is it just a top 10, 10 out of 10, or top tier, 10 out of 10, just the greatest thing you've ever seen? I don't know. I don't think so, but I think it's better than what people are going to give it credit for. But why now? Why did the Hoosiers decide this was the time? Because this went quickly now. Why was this the time to make Darian DeVries your next head coach? We'll talk about that in just a second here on this breaking news episode of the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Stick around. Today's bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Nissan. The Armada Team of the Week is brought to you by our friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, our Locked On college basketball experts are picking one team that stands apart. From top-seeded stars to unexpected upsets, these guys showcased the strength and sheer power needed to push their team forward. This week's Armada and clear-cut team of the week is the Florida Gators. The Gators, led by Walter Clayton, 17 points a game, just dominated the SEC tournament, winning each game by at least 9 points. Not only did Florida grab the fourth number 1 seed, but they are the nation's most efficient offense. When it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say go forth and conquer, and that's exactly what the Florida Gators have done here. It's clear that our team of the week is out here ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any of Nissan's outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder and go find your next big adventure at shopnissanusa.com. Today's bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take on the business and your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results in a timely manner. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Welcome back into this breaking news Locked On Hoosiers episode. I appreciate you being here, whether you are an everydayer that had your notifications turned on, whether you're just discovering us through a breaking news event. Doesn't matter to me. I'm just glad that you're here. And is this a good or bad hire that Darian DeVries is now the new head coach of Indiana men's basketball, right? The Mike Woodson era is over. Most people are saying thankfully, and a new era begins with Darian DeVries from West Virginia. And why now? I think it's fairly simple. West Virginia got screwed out of the tournament, and Indiana got screwed out of the tournament. And so while there were probably conversations that already were happening with Indiana and DeVries' camp, you now were able to have a direct conversation with him because he wasn't in the NCAA tournament. While the governor and the attorney general were getting after it from the state of West Virginia, DeVries didn't have a whole lot going on, and he was able to have a conversation. Indiana was able to talk to him. They were able to agree. We'll get contract details, NIL things, and stuff like that as we go. But this guy's been coaching for a long, long time. And I know that he hasn't been a head coach for decades, but he's been around some legendary head coaches for decades. How about Dana Altman and Greg McDermott at Creighton? He was there for a long, long time as an assistant coach, was a part of multiple NCAA tournament teams that made runs. He's been a part of those squads. Again, he took Drake to the tournament half of the years that he was there, and he should have been in the tournament with this West Virginia team who was depleted because of injuries. And let's be real, it was West Virginia. They're not a basketball powerhouse like they could have been, or I guess I guess they were back in the day. But in 2024 and 2025, they're not a dominant basketball program. But yet he still made them relevant. And so I think that's why this happened right now. And I think for Indiana and for you Indiana fans, you should be excited for this. Be optimistic about what this could be. The same way we talked about Ben McCollum is how I'm going to talk about Darian DeVries. I think the upside here is tremendous. I think the ceiling is there. I think you could have found a guy who could be here for decades to come. But I understand the concern because he hasn't done it at this level ever. Drake is not close. West Virginia is at least Power 5, but it's nowhere near IU. You have more pressure on you now than you've ever had before if you're Darian DeVries. You have a fan base that is demanding more than any place that you've ever been. But as we've said, if you win, you will be loved. You will be praised. You will be the man in the state of Indiana and, of course, in the town of Bloomington. Can he handle it? We're going to find out. And now there's a lot of moving pieces on the transfer portal and roster retention and just trying to rebuild this thing basically from the ground up. And it will be with Darian DeVries, the new head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers. The Indiana takes him from West Virginia and makes him the next head coach here in Bloomington. Let me know your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Shoot us a tweet or a post on X if you want to, at Locked On Hoosiers. So much more on a full episode tomorrow. This is just a quick bonus, immediate reaction episode for you. Be sure you check out our full episodes Monday through Friday on the Locked On Hoosiers YouTube channel or wherever you get your audio podcast. Okay, we are back tomorrow, Hoosier fans, with a new head coach. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.